PST Bet is now available in Namibia, Botswana, and DRC, bringing you the thrill of sports betting to you. From the biggest football matches to high-speed action with Aviator, My Lucky Six, and casino games, we bring you non-stop excitement at your fingertips. Enjoy cash back and cash out, giving you more control over your bets. Live betting on your favorite sports with real-time action and instant wins. Sign up today and start winning. PST Bet, you play, we pay.
Good day and welcome to yet another edition of GameTime with Marco. It's a pleasure being in your company once again, and thank you for your views, for your opinions, for your suggestions. And as usual, again today we have another special guest on the show, a football man by birth, a handball player these days, as well as a padel player, former SKW goalkeeper, former Sports Commission CA, as well as former Namibia Premier League, the NPL, not NPFL, but NPL Chief Executive Officer, Harald Fülle. Harald, thank you very much for joining us, and it's a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a while. Yeah. But yeah, it's good back to talk to you on sport again.
Sports, yeah. Don't you miss football?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. No, for sure. It will be always my passion. I played it on all the levels in the country. And I think what made it special is the time at the NPL when we were really doing good. It was a good time. I think we were moving in the right direction. And I miss that we stopped at a critical point to move forward.
Just to take it back now, take us through your history. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And in terms of football, when did you really start playing football?
I'm born and bred in Namibia. Went to the German private school, to the HPS. I played soccer already in school days. Obviously, under the previous regime, under South South Africa, the under 16, the under 18. Curry Cup teams. Then was not part and parcel of my belief. I didn't believe in the war that happened at the border, so I left the country. That I was not pulled into the South African army to do the border war. Went to Germany and tried to play in Germany as well. Went up to the 3rd division, and then I did my studies there. Stayed there for 8 years. Met my ex-wife there, came back, started playing again. And then passion through my dad, went back into fistball. This was a big thing. We hosted the first World Cup ever on an African continent in 1990 with fistball. And from there on went back to soccer again, and then Sports Commission and all of that.
Now, looking at the standard of football then and now, what would you say in terms of comparisons? What would be the biggest change to you? That to say this was the defining point for me to say really football has changed now.
The physical aspect. I think the physical aspect, the way if you look today's players, their fitness level, the physique is a complete different to when we played.
Yeah, the science behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
And as Namibian, are we catching up?
No.
From your assessment?
No, maybe not.
Well, when was the last time you watched the local Namibia Premier Football League match? The last time, the one that you remember?
The last time was when I think the second last round of the last season of NPL. I watched the Stars game.
African Stars.
Stars Junior, I think.
Yeah. All right. And you then come back. You play football. Now you're back from Germany. You are now married. You play football. You're playing for SKW as a goalkeeper.
Yes.
And what did you have a goalkeeper trainer those days?
No.
Who was training you?
Well, we had a goalkeeper. No, actually, when I started playing sweeper. And then moved. I mean, my father always teased me: the slower you get, the further you move back in the line. So I started playing forward, and then I played midfield, and then I played sweeper, and then he said, "Okay, now you have to go goalkeeper." No, but my strength was I could read the game quite well, and I had a good positioning game. And we were lucky enough that I don't know if the name just rings a bell. Vic Laubel. He was a coach for Windhoek City at that time. They had this combination of Windhoek City when we played the South African League. He was more or less a mentor of my goalkeeping.
Okay. And looking at goalkeepers now, comparing them to your days, the difference?
No, not much. I think in a way I played, it's not too much of a challenge, because nowadays goalkeepers are field players. I mean, if you look at Manuel and these boys are playing sweeper. So I think one of the big challenges when I see the local soccer is that our goalkeepers are goalkeepers with their hands. They hardly can use their feet to even do a proper kickoff. So I think today's game is, you have specialized positions like a number 9 and number 10, whatever. But even look at Harry Kane, where he plays all over the show. But a goalkeeper is definitely not a goalkeeper anymore. He's more a sweeper kind of role too, and so I think that's the biggest difference from goalkeeping.
Yeah, I mean nowadays we even see goalkeepers giving assists. I was watching a Champions League match yesterday. I think it's a Newcastle goalkeeper, Nick Pope. He gave an assist, and I was like, wow. So this is how football has evolved,
yes, exactly,
and we must move on with it. Now, your love for sports obviously started at school.
Yes.
Why football?
I think because of my dad. He was a passionate soccer player, and he took me to. I think in school, well, in German school, obviously soccer is a prominent, not rugby. So I think that's how it all developed.
All right, and when you now start working, obviously it was in the sports-related field as well. Take us through that. How were you managing to balance your playing career and your work?
I mean, at that time, I think professional soccer nowadays is a full-time job. Like 24 hours, you do sport. In Namibia, we were not. I think we even not now even that far that we can say our professional sportsmen can do sports only. I mean, everybody in this country that is somehow a professional sports person has to have a job somewhere. Look at the rugby players working 8 to 3 and then going to coaching. I mean, cricket is the same. All of the cricketers still have a job, because you can't survive in this country only on sport. And in my days it was even worse. I mean, you had to do a full-time job to be able and afford to do sport as well. I mean, the first years when I came back from Germany, all my leave days and everything I had went always into sport. I mean, international travel, or you cash it out to do something for sport.
For sports, yeah. You raised a very important aspect there of sports, that in Namibia we find that most of our sports people have to do a 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 or 9 to 3 job, and then they go and train. Is that environment conducive, and how do we sort of move the direction of where professionalization demands us to say, if you're a sports person, you're a sports person 24/7?
Well, if Namibia wants to catch up to the world, this is the only way that we can do it. We need to create a professionalism in sport that our sportsperson, our talented sportsperson, can do a 9 to 5 sport and not a 9 to 5 work and then do sport. I think that perhaps 2 or 3 federations that are moving in that direction. Cricket is definitely one. I mean, they're the first guys, and the salaries they're paying, as far as I've been told, are quite reasonable. You can't live from that, but it gives you a kind of safety and security. And also they were the first guys that awarded contracts to the female national team. So it's a move in the right direction. And soccer, who should be leading by a long shot, is not even close to being a long shot. And I know. Being in the sports commission, being with the Olympic body, and being in sport for so long, we talking about this matter for, I don't know, for the last 10, 15 years.
So why is it that it's only talk and there's no action?
Yeah, well, I think that is the biggest downfall for sport in this country.
According to assessment, where would you really pinpoint the bottleneck and say this is where the bottleneck is?
The bottleneck, as far as my personal thing is, we need to start funding high performance centers. Really need to and identify. I mean, there's Region 5 got the what you call it, a program for the podium kind of program. I think where they have talented players. There is money. I think my personal view is. Even with the Olympic body and with all the other bodies, FIFA is the same, soccer is the same, rugby is the same. All these international bodies, they have so much monetary funds lying around. You can apply for it, but you have to have a program that works. And somehow we are not getting that thing right, that we can present to FIFA, to the NLC, to whoever, a program. It's like, listen, we need 5 million. This is the program. This is what it costs. This is who we employed. This is the end result.
You speak about the funding lying around at FIFA or all these bodies, World Rugby, ICC, to actually help us develop our sports. You were at Sports Commission. You were at Sports Commission. How were you operating there in terms of the funding?
The funding at that time was the Sports Commission is funded completely at that time by the ministry.
Mm-hmm. Were the funds enough?
No, I mean the funds just covered more or less operational, and then a little bit. I mean, there was no. I mean,
were you able to give certain amounts of money or small amounts to federations?
Yes, we did. I think it was the first time I was told in 3 years that. Remember, in the Sports Act, there's a clause that the Sports Commission is obliged to pay admin fees to every sports federation in the country annually. And I think in that year I was there, it's for the first time that we paid the admin fees to all the federations. And I think thereafter it stopped again. I've been told federations are still waiting for admin fees, which is quite hypocrisy if you think about it. I mean, there are small sport federations, really small sport federations that they love the game. They do it because they love the game, and they don't want to, and they keep on going on those, and then the Sports Commission expects financially audit reports, and you know what an auditor costs.
Yeah.
So at least then you tell again, but you didn't have an audit report, so you can't get the funds. But where does these small federations get the funds from to do these kind of things? So it's a little bit of this mismatch, and you can't punish people for not doing something they can't afford, but they're still doing the sport.
Having said at the Sports Commission as a CA, is that office important? Is it really necessary for Namibia to have an office, a Sports Commission office, to run the affairs of sports in the country? If based on what you saw when you were there, and based on what you saw before and after you left?
It's a trick question. I maintain because before now we had everything thrown together in one ministry, being youth development, sport, and education. I think that ministry is way too big, in my opinion, to handle any aspect of what they are doing. But at that stage, I have a very personal opinion. My personal opinion is you close down the Sports Commission and you close down the Olympic body, and you appoint people within the ministry to look after what's going on. Because why I'm saying it is because every federation is run by the federation. It's people that love the sport, people that put heart and soul and money, blood and tears and sweat into their sport to survive. I don't know what the Sports Commission can do other
That those people are not doing.
exactly, other than regulate them. So what do you want to regulate? You can appoint somebody to regulate. You can appoint somebody to check that all national teams are Namibian born. Those things you can check. The Olympic body could be a little bit of a challenge because obviously it's an independent body. The IOC is very, very strict, just like FIFA. No government interference, we all know that. Most probably one can leave the Olympic body because at the end of the day, I think funding via the IOC could be of immense support to Namibia because there is so much money available, and the IOC or the NNOC is, I think now they 28 sports codes which are Olympic, which covers everything you actually want to cover. So saying that, what I said at the beginning, the NNOC perhaps not closed down, but in a way one also can move into the direction that South Africa moved, do a one body. They're called SASCOP. It's the Olympic body and the Sports Commission under one roof, and it works for them. I mean, it was part and parcel of a visit we did to South Africa when I was at Sports Commission to visit SASCOP, and it's an organization that can work. We tried it. We had meetings here. But I think it's one of the big things in Namibia is our personalities are always in our way.
I'll keep going back to your time, for the time being, to your time at the Sports Commission. The issue of legislation. That's a piece of legislation that governs sports. It's been coming through. I believe even during your time, there was a discussion. We need to change. That is the what do you call it? The Sports Act. What is the biggest challenge with that act?
There is no challenge.
What is the problem?
I don't know. I really don't know, because in my time we revised the Sports Act. The revised the Sports Act of 2003. It was, I think, just after I left, as far as I'm concerned, it was nearly, I think it was finalized, the final draft, and then suddenly it stopped. I don't know why it stopped, because I know we had massive discussion with all federations. We did the changes to the Sports Act. The revision was done. The IOC, the NNOC had their say into it. All the independent bodies, the umbrella bodies, they were all invited. We all had a look at the Sports Act. The Sports Act, as far as I know, and I think I spoke to the previous SG of the NNOC the other time, and she said she also doesn't know why it was never ever presented to go ahead.
Does that not bother you?
It does, because there are two documents that bother me that were never presented. The one is the Sports Act of 2003, which, as far as I know, was finalized. And I don't know if you remember, we had a sports indaba.
Yes.
2002, something like that, I think. When I went into the Sports Commission, I remember the sports indaba because I was a visitor there, and I asked what happened to all the information that was collected at the indaba. And then I was told a very good friend of mine started working on a national sports plan, taking all the information that was presented at the indaba. So I made contact, and we worked on the sports plan. We presented a complete sports plan together in detail, from implementation date to financials to what has to be done, infrastructure, national teams, subsistence, a whole perfect sports plan, categorization which the NNOC or the Sports Commission is using now was part and parcel of, they copy, it's just a copy and paste of what was in that. And that's a document, I think, if we just push our personalities aside and take the outer document and say, okay, just change the dates and do a little bit of numbers again, we have a document that will guide Namibia in the long run.
And then you also took part, or you were part of the Namibia Premier Football League as CEO. How did you end up there?
I was asked to apply, and I applied, and I got the job.
I mean, did you want to be there?
Yeah.
Was it something that you would have done? You know, if you're not asked, was it something that you would have done?
No, most probably not. Most probably not. No, but it was a challenge. I mean, it was a challenge. I was asked by 2 or 3 guys, why don't you apply? Because you got the expertise to run sport. So I applied, and I got it.
Well, why I'm asking you if you wanted to be there is because, you know, there are some jobs that come up, and there's a shoe fit of a person that person is a shoe fit. Come heaven, come hell, that person must go there. And there are some jobs that by accident people end up being there.
Yeah.
And from what I had done through the research was that you were approached by people because they felt you were a shoe fit for that particular position. But you are saying you probably would have not done it because for whatever reason you would have not done it. And when you went to the NPL, how did you find it in terms of its financial status, its administrative status, and how did you manage to maneuver around those challenges that you found there?
Well, let's just say the NPL, I think, under the leadership, the previous leadership, was well organized. There was obviously there were always challenges, and they didn't have a strong arm in the admin side, but organizational-wise, it was perfect. There was no, obviously we have problems there, here and there, because you working with 16 teams. Everybody's got his own interest. Everybody wants to protect his own interest. At the end of the day, that's what it is, and you have to manage those interests for the common goal of the NPL. But from what we achieved in the time is that we put in new admin rules. The payouts, the monthly grants were streamlined. You only can get grants if you submit invoices. You know, the normal governance things that you need to do. We managed to get our media department up and running with the 2 people that were there. Who were running the NPL, to give them more guidance, to give them more assistance. I think it was, as you say, it was a shoe fit. There were 4 guys, myself, media, secretary, and obviously, what do you call it, the fixtures. So from that point, we were good. I think we was a good combination of skilled people, and who had soccer at the heart, and to want to develop it.
How tough or how easy was it to run that office?
No, it was not. It was not tough. It was a challenge, put it that way, because as I said before, you got 16 teams.
Yes.
They all want their little thing before. We can't play now. We can only play then. But I think at the end of the day, it matters that we treated everybody on the same level, and then we were open and transparent, and the doors were open to come and talk, and one has to say, and with no doubt, that the BOG was run very, very acceptably, and then we had obviously a leadership which is now sorely missed in Namibia, to be very honest. I mean, I can say the names, if it's been Carter or Paulino or Chombe and Nyankura. Those boys and those men, they were businessmen. They know how to do business. They had soccer at the right place in the heart, and it was always about promoting the NPL.
You spoke about, the BOG that you worked with. It's the same BOG as well as the same management that got suspended by the Namibia Football Association and later on expelled. Take us through that period, because there isn't much that is known except that One day we wake up, we hear that the NPL is suspended.
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the line, we hear that the NPL is chuffed out of NFA. From your point of view, take us through what happened.
Well, to be very honest, the NPL as such in its mandate is there to run the Premier League, and we do relegate. That is how the constitution and the mandate is. We don't promote, we relegate. This is how we all agreed. This is how everybody in the whole world is running your Premier League. You relegate. The Football Association has to promote. This is how the whole world works. And before a league starts, you sign up with the Football Association the promotion relegation rules. This is how it works. It's always like it, and that is how it worked. So when we came to the end of the season, we had to relegate. This is how it works. The NFA at that time didn't have a first division. So they came and said, well, to who were you relegating? I said, well, that's not our problem. Our problem is relegate. You tell us who to promote. What you do with our relegation teams is not my problem, because they're out of the Premier League. They're not, as such, when you call it members anymore. So that's where then the whole
problem started.
How the whole problem started.
Who did you relegate?
It was with 3 teams we had to relegate. Obviously,
Civics.
Yeah.
Orlando Pirates.
Yes.
And young Chiefs from the north.
No, they were not. Wasn't it? Civilian, wasn't it?
It was Civics, Orlando Pirates, and I think it was Young Chiefs or...
Could be,
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So that was where the problem starts. And then, because the NFA then folded and we were appointed, and then the Organisation Committee came aboard, and they got themselves involved in that whole promotion relegation saga, which ended up in a way that we said so and they said so, and it was just a hence and a forth.
So the so that you are saying is, we said we are relegating those 3 teams.
Yes.
Whatever happens to them is not on our problem, it's your problem.
Correct.
Whoever you promote, we will take them in.
Correct.
If you don't promote anyone,
we're going to play
with only 13 teams.
Yes.
And it's not and at the end of the season, we still relegate 3 teams.
Correct.
Until we are left maybe with 0 teams.
Well, you sort yourself out. I mean, NFA, you sort yourself out. You're responsible. I mean, the mandate of the NFA is quite clear. You promote soccer in this country. Premier League is none of your business. Was never. A professional league is none business of an association. I mean, look at PSL, look at La Liga, look at Bundesliga, look at EPL. They members of the NFA because only an FA can regulate soccer
in a country.
But the FA doesn't have any say over how the Premier League is run. They're just members. And if you think in a broader term, a Premier League is the only logical arm that can generate money for an FA. The FA is not there to make money. The FA is there to develop soccer. And to develop soccer, you need money. You can't make money out of your development. That's a contradiction in itself. That's why you're getting funding from FIFA to do that development, to run a first division, to run a second division, to run these. And then the Premier League is there to make money. How much money does the EPL does to TV rights? And you make a contract, the FA and the EPL make a contract that a certain percentage of that money that is generated has to go back to the FA for development.
Yes.
That's the logical how it should work. other than here. So that's where the whole thing started. And then the normalization committee came on board. The first one, there were two, and said, well, those teams cannot be relegated. And we said, well, that's not in our way, because our constitution reads that.
So they wanted you to cannibalize your own constitution.
Yeah, and so we said, no, we can't. We can't do that. So we had our annual general meeting, and obviously, you have to, if you want to change your constitution, you have to give, there's a time frame, or you have to follow, otherwise changing the constitution cannot work. So we had our annual general meeting, and then the chair, Mr. Carter, put it to the table. This is what we've been presented by the nomination committee. They want to change our constitution, which we cannot change now because obviously of the time frame. So, but he puts it to the table. So, to follow the guidelines of the constitution, we're going to call an extraordinary meeting to allow the changes that are requested by the FA or by the nomination committee. So we had the extraordinary general meeting, and it was rejected unanimously. The changes that
were suggested.
They were suggested. So we went back to Mr. Clinton and said, sorry guys, we can't. And then I think a power struggle started to develop, and then there came FIFA instructions came through that we have to. And then I think, and I'm not sure. Actually, when I came here this morning, I actually was thinking about it. I wonder if the new ministry and the Sports Commission, in the meantime, appointed arbitration committees and boards, because that's actually what's in the Sports Act.
Yeah,
and I don't think they have, because that is where then the whole thing escalated to a point where we
you needed to arbitrate, but there was no arbitration boards,
and there was no arbitration. The normalization committee had, in their mandate, had to appoint an arbitration, which they didn't. The next body that we should have gone to is the Sports Commission.
And they also did not have.
And they didn't have. So now we were stuck. So now where are you going? So
now that led to a stalemate?
Led to a stalemate. Although we were still trying to solve the matter of promotion relegation. We were still on that point that we want to do that. We gave them several options from our point how we can solve the whole promotion relegation thing.
But they kept on insisting that.
And then the last straw we presented to them and say, okay, you know what? Because there was no first division in that year when we wanted to relegate, we take the relegation teams from the previous year
and bring them back
and have a playoff against those three teams that are now relegated, to find a way that we can, okay, these are actually our relegation teams, but there was no promotion, so let's do those that were relegated the year before and put them all into one pot. We play one promotion relegation weekend. The first three of that round will then go through. And I remember that meeting was on a Friday afternoon, and they thought to be very clever, but they underestimated some people in sport. Like, they said, okay, if you can present, it was on Friday afternoon, I remember that quite correctly, in the Women's Center. If you can present by Monday morning 9 o'clock, a venue, a costing, a fixture, we can do that. So poor me had to
run around,
had to hustle around to find, because you obviously had to also find a neutral ground, because it's a promotional relegation game. So I found Grootfontein
as the
venue, and it was a cut field. I had friends to Grootfontein, and I went to the field. It was beautiful cut. So presented, and then strangely enough, like half an hour later, we were called under which rules and regulations are these promotional regulations games taking place? And then I called Mr. Carter and said, this was all a farce. Because why are you asking us to do a presentation or a proposal, and then you on Monday morning tell us under which rules are you doing that? I mean,
that was the end of it.
That was the end. So then one word gave the other, and then we were told by the normalization committee that we had to follow FIFA instructions, which we obviously didn't because it sabotaged our own constitution. So we couldn't do that. And then at the end of the day, it came also to the point that so it went to the suspension thing because we didn't follow FIFA instructions. The other point, obviously, is that the NPL has 4 votes at the
NFA Congress, yes.
Correct. Yeah. So if you take 4 votes out, it's much easier to get your guys through the whole thingy. We were given an opportunity to present our case again at the AGM of the NFA. So we prepared. I know Vice Chair Paulino was embarked to do this presentation. We were waiting outside in the hallway at now Mervenpick. We were called in, or he was called in, and I think not even 5 minutes later he was out and said, "So what happened?" He said, "I was just presented. I was not even given a chance to answer questions." So that was it. We knew
it was over.
Yeah. So from there it was over. I mean, then till we were suspended. But before the suspension, we also knew that we had to fight for our 4 votes. And as I said before, we didn't. There was no arbitration counselled by the sports ministry, by
anyone, yeah.
By anyone. So the only way we could have stopped was going to the civil courts. And you know as well as I know, the moment you take soccer to a civil court, you're done.
You're done, yeah.
And that's what happened. So then we were expelled. Not the NPL, but only the board members.
The board members, yeah.
Myself, Paulino and Jordan. So those 5 guys were suspended. Or expelled, not suspended. We were not allowed to partake in any soccer activities in the country. So for my personal, it was a huge blow because remember I also was part and parcel of the Hopsol League with Colin, and because of that I had to step down from the Hopsol League. I also brought part and parcel with Andre and Abisai with the Futsal League. I also had to step down of that. So I was suddenly stranded somewhere with no sport.
Yeah. In hindsight, could you have done things differently if you had towed the line and relegated and kept those 3 teams?
You know, sometimes people ask me about that as well. And my answer will be always no. We couldn't have done anything different. And why I'm also saying it is because me, from a little bit of a German background, my father, and having a lawyer like Patrick and a lawyer like Bonnie as your chair and vice chair, for them and for me, there are no grey zones. It's either black or it's white. And to have allowed these 3 teams to stay, we would have ventured into something that wasn't according to the book. And we also would have set a precedent. So any promotion relegation from here on would be always challenged in court. Because why would you allow Orlando to stay, and this year I have to go? Because you see where I'm going. At the end of the day, so that's what had happened. So it actually was a huge personal blow, and which made it worse is that when the second normalization committee came in, We presented the case to the chair of the second committee, our expulsion, and within not even half an hour, we were called and said, no, this is completely illegal, you back.
But now you come back from...
So I can now go back into soccer, put it that way.
Now you come back. Are you coming back as PSL, or now the PSL is already done?
Yeah, I mean, if one would revive the Premier League, it should be under the premises of the old Premier League. I mean, the work the old Premier League clubs have done to comply with CAF rules and registration, and the new rules how to register a club, what you have to have in place. I mean, we had 2-day conferences in Oriental at Harald, where we went through all the boxes we needed to tick as a club, what you have to have, development and a media and a what. I mean, the work that was done by the clubs to comply with CAF rules was tremendous, and everybody was on board. That was the best part of all 16 clubs that were there. We're at Harald. We went together, Kauta and Polino and myself. We presented cases. We went through all the regulations and things that CAF needed and required to be registered as a club.
And now looking at it, obviously they sort of folded the NPL and they came up with the NPFL.
Yes.
From an outsider, what is your view on the NPFL?
It's a joke. It doesn't. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I think it's just a joke. I mean, just monetary wise, you journalists, you know the numbers that the NPL had at its disposal. I mean, look, and those are numbers that were not hidden. They were transparent. We had 21 million by MTC. We had 5 million from FNB, and we had 8 million from Standard Bank. That's the numbers we're talking about. And those numbers, every monthly grant to a team was, I think, 146,000. I mean, every month for 10 months. You can work on that. So
basically, each team was getting 1.4 annually.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So, and you can work as a club. You can work with it. Now you can suddenly pay salaries. Now you can pay transport, and you got transport numbers. If on top of it, if, for example, the Rundu teams, we needed to reimburse higher than obviously the winter teams because of the away games. I mean, obviously. So that was all taken into consideration. I mean, if I look at the Standard Bank Cup, that 8 million was spent. We didn't keep anything for us. It was spent on the top 8. You got money for travel, money for this. You got kids. Everything was. So, if I look at that, the deputy minister went into parliament and got 10 million, then I'm like, 10 million for what? What do you want to do with 10 million?
We will come to that. We will come to that.
So I think, yeah, it's if you want to, we talked about that thing before they take the professionalization of soccer or sports stars. I think at that stage, the NPL was most probably the highest paid sports employer in the country. We did the numbers with because it was Salomo Hay, who is Namibia Statistics. He has more insight into that than anybody else. I mean, we came up with a number taking an NPL full season. There would be something like 6,000 to 7,000 Namibians being positively influenced by the NPL. Of vendors, taxi drivers, cleaners, everybody that is involved. So
it was sort of there was a domino effect coming from the money that were coming from football into families.
Yeah.
After you were suspended, and then the suspension was taken back or taken away. was there anyone from the current NPL? Well, there's one person in office right now, one or two people at the office at the NPFL. Was there anybody who came to you to ask for maybe advice or maybe just how you handle this or how you handle that?
No, never.
Have you volunteered your services?
No, but I put it that way, I would have, for sure. I'm that kind of person that if anybody asks me, especially if it comes in the sports industry, I will always help. But no, from the NPLF, nobody ever approached me, and I also didn't offer. At that time, I mean, I was really angry, to be honest, because I think seeing the vision we had with the NPL, and then taking it away, and now looking at that little circus we have now, it just makes you angry.
You keep referring to it as a joke, as a circus. What is it that you feel is not being done right?
First of all, I think an NPL as such, or the Premier League as such, can only operate if you financially sustainable, and that didn't happen, and that didn't happen since the NPL walked out.
Yeah.
With the Debt Marine sponsorship, it's a financial assistance which you can most probably sustain, but you will never ever be able to sustain a club on a level that you should if you want to play Premier League. You need to, I mean, a minimum salary for a Premier League player must be 5.5, 6K a month. It must be your minimum basic salary. Then you have to give them the incentives of winning bonuses and training participation and all of those little things that you can come up to a salary that you can live off plus a job. But no, I don't know how you want to survive on 4.5K when you have a family and you have to travel and you have to do this and you have to do that. So it's a little bit. But I think why the NPL, and one can put it in a broader term, why the NPL, and nowadays everybody speaks about cricket, why the NPL or cricket now attracts sponsors is because it's transparent, there's accountability, there are people in office who knows what they're doing, and there's a financial audit statement year in, year out.
And that's what is lacking at the NPFL right now.
As far as I know.
If I had to take you in right now and say, Harald, you are now the CEO of NPL, what would be your first, like your challenge, your first 100 days, what would you be looking at strengthening?
The financials. Full stop. I need to know where is the money going. I need to know. I need to have a audited financial thingy. I need to have the agreements by all the clubs with the NPLF, because that is one thing you have to do. You have to have an agreement with your members.
Do you keep the league at NFA or you take it away?
Take out completely. It's the NPL or the NPLF should never be run by FA.
Why not?
Because that's not their mandate. Their mandate is soccer development. Nothing else.
How dangerous is it to have the NPFL under the NFA?
It can influence the financials. The financials must be independent from the NFA. Any sponsorship that goes to the NPFL now, the 18 million from that Marine, if I'm falling under the resort of the NFA, is there a separate account or does it go to the NFA? If it goes to the NFA, then we know what's going to the money.
When you were NPL, you had your own accounts and you're running your own money.
Okay. The NFA didn't know. No.
Interesting.
No.
Obviously, a lot has happened. We have seen football being stopped for a combined 7-8 years. We have seen the performance of the national team going up and dipping. It hasn't been smooth riding. From your standpoint view, from your point of view, or where you're standing, what are the main factors that have led us to that? Is it the legislation? Is it the people that we have in office? Is it the fact that there's no money? Is it the fact that we're a small country? Is it the fact that government is not interested in sport? What is it according to you?
I think you mentioned all of them. I think they're all.
No, I'm asking
No,
because
but I think all of those points are playing a factor into where we are today with soccer, especially where we are today.
Please expand on that.
I mean, talent-wise, Namibia is blessed.
Yes.
There is no question. Any sport,
doubt.
we're blessed in any sport. I know it from the Sports Commission days, when we had foreigners here, foreign athletes here. Everybody tells you are blessed. You're blessed with a lot of rocks because this is Namibia, but you're blessed also with a lot of talent. So we're not tapping into that. That's the one thing. The other thing is, if you look at, just take today's situation. We all are lambasting the current head coach of the Brave Warriors.
Yeah. He didn't qualify us for the World Cup. He did not qualify us for the World Cup.
No, he didn't. It's a fact. The fact is also that the whole world is already on the 8th league day. We perhaps starting this weekend. I hear rumors that people are already asking for suspensions and whatever. We can't play this weekend.
For postponements, yes.
For postponements. So,
well, obviously, Julino, we understand why they can be postponed because of the accident that happened to the owner and the family that he lost. We do understand that. And also the fact that their stadium is under construction, the teams in Rundu, we understand that the stadium is still being constructed right now. It's not ready, but we could have moved them maybe to Grootfontein or to another town. But because of the death, obviously we can't play football, yes.
Yeah, no, that's obviously...
But the rest of the teams have no excuse.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think the Bundesliga, the APL, everybody is already on the 7th or 8th league game. One thing that every coach will tell you, you cannot train match fitness. You can't. There is no substitute for matches. So what must poor head coach do with a team that hasn't played any competitive game since when? 6 months, 4 months.
March, April, yeah.
Yeah. So what? Yeah. I think we just lack. We lack organization and stand by what has been decided. I mean, we cannot in mid of October start with a league. A league normally starts in August. That's how it is. There's no excuses. Yes, I know the excuses because there's no money.
Yeah, just to cut you there, you are saying that the clubs are already asking for sort of postponement of matches, but I do sympathize with some of those clubs that are doing that because of the fact that they didn't have enough preseason, and we know that a normal preseason is 6 weeks.
Yes,
and the clubs were given, I think, 2 weeks. Yes, yeah.
Any coach will tell you. You need at least 6 weeks to pre. Any coach, there's no question about it.
So the clubs are right to request for postponement.
I get that. First of all, they don't have a pre. If you cut it short and you have the players every day, most probably you can do it in 4 weeks. But then you have to have the players every day there. And I don't know who can do that because most of the players still work. So you only have like 5 to 6 or 5 to 8 to do some training, or 6 to 8 because people work till 5 o'clock. So you have 2 hours to do per day to do a pre. Then you need your 6 weeks. Then most probably, what I think is that most of the clubs haven't seen any financial support. We only got now 10 million from the deputy. How can you? Will you come to training if you know I'm asked? I don't think so. You need to have some kind of a contract with somebody at the club. I mean, yeah, there are exceptions. I mean, the African Stars boys, and they professionally run. They most probably have somewhere a stage parked away, like Mali as well, with what they got from the CAF.
Yeah.
So they can most probably sign contracts with players on that they get a income. But and then what? Who the other guys are? I mean, Ongos perhaps so because they got a conglomerate behind them. And then you
Nampol and Mighty Gunners,
because they're government
employees, and UNAM as well.
Yeah, that's a challenge on its own. But I mean, you can't expect a Premier League team to get going in 2 weeks, and you haven't. 2 weeks ago, you didn't even know how much money you have.
All right. During your time, you had 35 million a season to run the NPL. How much would you think right now? Because that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. How much would you think now a Namibian Premier Football League or a top flight league would need to run effectively?
Look, we had the 21 from MTC for the Premier League. So my gut would tell me, because the five from FNB was for Edmund.
I mean everything, admin for the Premier League, the awards, the kids, the stadiums, the referees, everything.
35 million minimum.
33 to 35 million just for the league, not the admin.
No, altogether. Give us a package of 35 million. Okay. You would run a good Premier League.
A good Premier League.
Yeah.
And do you think corporates in this country would commit to 35 million a year times 5 years to the Namibia Premier Football League as it stands?
No. And I know on social media the big corporates are always bashed, especially the big corporates like the ShopRites and the Spars and whoever, and then the answers are always they say African owned and what. I don't. There's most probably a point into it, but I just think the NFA over the last 3-4 years is to blame why corporates are not coming on board, because the reputation, and I think that is I think my biggest concern. The reputation of soccer in this country is such a bad one that nobody wants to touch it.
But who's responsible for that? It's the NFA.
Yeah, the NFA.
So they are to be blamed.
Yeah, they are. No, there's no question about it. It is, and I think Marley said it in your last podcast when he said, you ask him, so why does the NFA hold on to the Premier League? And he said, it's because it's their power. It's there. They can be seen. Nobody wants to look at the first. They need to be in the limelight. And I think that's where it all starts. And I don't think it is that the NFA made it very difficult for corporates to come on board. With their reputation, with their controversy, with whatever happens. I don't know if anybody is walking voluntarily into soccer house and then they say, okay, I'm here, guys. What's up? I mean, everybody is driving around circles. I don't want to go into soccer house. No, I don't want to. I mean, there's too many things that people are talking about.
You spoke about the 10 million that the Deputy Minister Dina Opalotti mentioned in Parliament, to say as government they'll be giving 10 million to make sure that football starts, because sports is one of the top tier top focus for the current government. Is that not government interference to start off with? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking that. When the Deputy Minister takes government money and puts it at Namibia Football Association, and then when something happens at Namibia Football Association and the same Deputy Minister comes and says, you guys are doing wrong here and here and here and here, FIFA will see it as interference. But when money goes in from government, FIFA doesn't see it that way. And personally, I have a problem with that.
Out. But it goes further than that, Marco. I think if everyone looks at the last 2-3 years, the national teams couldn't have travelled without government subsistence. Is that
definitely
yes? Is that not also government interference?
So where do we draw the line now?
Yeah, exactly. So it is a point. However, this 10 million that the deputy put up, I find it highly offensive. to any other sports court in this country, to be very honest. I mean, I'm surprised that the rugbies, the crickets, the hockeys of this world didn't also knock on the deputy minister's door and say, listen, mister,
we also need...
I have no problem if you would give 10 million to the FA because they have to pay salaries and whatever it's going on. But you're giving it to a league. A league. Not to the FA. That for me makes it a complete different ballgame. So I don't know why rugby is not knocking on the door. Listen, mister.
Are they not knocking? I'm sure they are.
We're running short on our league as well. How do you want... You can't explain that. Because you said president, Mr. Deputy. You said a president. And I don't know how you want to get out of it. As far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Most probably there are different reasoning behind it. But in my personal view, when I heard it, I was like, this is so wrong. This is so wrong.
I mean, the deputy minister obviously is a former footballer himself. He's a former football coach. What advice would you give him if he had to come to you and say, hey, Harald, I'm in this position and I want to make things work here, I want to make things work there. What must I do? I'm not saying he should come to you, but I'm saying hypothetically.
No. We have our telephone numbers.
Yeah, you know each other. Yeah,
we know each other. We know each other for a long time. He was technical director at SKW when I was still there, so we know each other for a long time. I respect what he's doing. I would, if he would have asked me, I would have told him no. Should I give the 10 million to the MPL? I would have.
Why not?
Because it's not his game. It's not the government's game to get involved.
But if he doesn't give that 10 million, we wouldn't be having the game starting.
Also true. So most probably, yeah, it's most probably a balancing act. What would have been done, but personally, then soccer wouldn't have started.
Sustainability-wise?
Nah, it's just a drop in the ocean as far as I'm concerned. Because with 10 million, Premier League, you can't do anything. To be very honest. You need now, and I think he said it in the statement when he presented it in Parliament, that with the 10 million they want to kickstart soccer, and then they calling up all corporates to come aboard and assist the Premier League to get going. An advice I would have given him is that, say, if you're going to do this and you're going to call for all the corporates, a very strong point would have been, and I've got the annual general financial report in my hands. We can have a look at the numbers. That would be something that I say, okay, now if that is now ticked off by the Auditor General, say, okay, the numbers are correct, then perhaps I would say, okay, you can do that. But I think, everybody knows that the financials in that house is not what we think it should be.
Let's talk infrastructure. What role can NFA play in development of infrastructure in Namibia? We know that football infrastructure is in a dire state. What role can they play?
Before the Assembly almost Stadium became a safety and health matter, I already at that time, it was like 5-6 years ago, went to the NFA and said, the only way forward is if you and the municipality of Windhoek come up with a co-op agreement.
Okay, explain that one, yeah.
Meaning that through NFA and through its connection to FIFA, we would have, or the NFA has the opportunity and also the possibility to get the turf for a reasonable price. Because remember, that turf was sponsored by FIFA.
Yes.
By who was the previous one? Blatter.
Yes.
So, and in Africa, and Namibia being one of the poorest, I don't think that FIFA would have too much of an issue if we would have approached FIFA and said, listen, we need to replace the current turf at San Riuma. And I think it's $2 million, make it $3 million. Once you have that in agreement, you go to the municipality and say, listen, we're going to replace the turf. you're going to look after the stadium. Let's come to an agreement. We replace the turf. The stadium is still ours. It's still yours. But we're going to play the next 2 years for free, Premier League. But there's turf. It's international. We can play again.
You can play, yeah.
That would be my first, and second would be, if I do the turf there, I would do the turf and expand technical center. I don't know why the technical center is not a standard soccer field. It's not. It's way too short.
It's too small, yeah.
Yeah. So, but we still have space. Remember, we still have space to the High Court.
Yeah.
So we could have done that, and that wouldn't cost. That would not be an arm and a leg. If you do that into an international standard, you ask FIFA for another turf, or at a reduced cost, and you have 2 turf courts in Windhoek.
So
the infrastructure would most probably be already solved with minimum.
So I gather NFA is not innovative enough to lose what they have on their hands.
I mean, sorry, Marco. I mean, the SKW or the Ramblers fields, they're all good maintenance fields. Just go to the clubs and say, listen, we're going to play this season at least 10 games. This is the number. This is the fixtures. Here's the money.
You also worked at Cricket Namibia.
Yes.
As a development officer, if my memory serves.
Operations.
Chief Operations, yes. And we have seen Cricket Namibia building a world-class stadium. How is it that they managed to do that no other sports court in the country could do it?
It was possible because there's a vision within Namibia, with Cricket Namibia. They have a very, very strong and excellent management. They have a very, very strong and excellent board who share all the same compassion and vision on where Namibia cricket should
go. Yeah.
The appointments are done. The coaches' appointments are done on international level. They don't care who you are. As long as you bring in the numbers, you bring in the numbers. With obviously already a piece of land to them, the old October, and then one has to then also talk to the municipality, because it took the municipality I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years or something like that to transfer property into Cricket Namibia. There was a hands and a force on it, but it eventually helped. The other thing is that Namibia would help and tremendously helped is that Namibia was awarded to host the World Cups, the 2026 under 19 and 2027, the big boys, and because of the awards, you get money up front, or you can request money because you get paid to host a game. So Cricket Namibia was clever enough and said, okay guys, this is what we get. Before we go to the commercial banks and pay interest and go to government and be beggars and what, let's ask the ICC if we can't get that money now, the hosting
money, yes.
And we can start building, and that's what they did.
Okay.
Obviously, there are, because of the vision, the accountability, transparency, the annual reports are in place. I mean, it's everything. Everything is there. I mean, you can walk in there and say, okay, I want to see the audit of financial, and you will get it. I mean, there's no hidden agendas nowhere, and I think that is what then, and obviously with the carrot that you're hosting World Cup is obviously something you can approach any sponsor in Namibia with.
With football, they can do the same, I believe.
Yes, of course.
But not obviously hosting the World Cup, but
no,
maybe the COSAFA or try to see if we can host the CHAN.
I look at for example, the Vinita Stadium in Sokomot. I think it's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
And it can be developed to a real good CAF standard stadium because it's got a massive stand, it's got a beautiful outfield. So I think it's all possible. But I saw the other day on social media there's a AstroTurf with lights and a LED board somewhere in some village somewhere in the north. I was like, how do we only know about this on social media? Why is it not media?
It's a private stadium.
No, but it's still a turf that can be most probably used. I mean, they were like, okay, some private boys do have money to do that kind of development. So why are they not spending the money on the NFA? That is a question.
That's a big question. I mean, the big guys must come and explain why they are not using that money at the NFA. And looking at it now, Harald, what are you up to? What are you doing just to conclude the session?
I'm running currently the Pedal Tennis Club at SKW. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting myself involved back into sports.
Which sports?
Consultant here,
Consultant
there.
Mm-hmm.
And doing what I'm doing best, doing events. I mean, that is where we are. I mean,
would you be interested in going back and being, let's say, Secretary General at the NFA or CEO at the NPFL, if
sure.
given an opportunity?
Yes, I would.
Would you take it with both hands?
Yes.
And in terms of local club management?
Would be a difficult one because I'm 45 years member of SKW, so going to any other club I think would cost.
I mean, SKW itself, we know if they say there's a project, we want to come back to the Premier League and we want to continue producing juniors, would you be interested being president of the club for that matter?
No, because it doesn't. In a way, there's two legs to that. There's two sides to the story. Either the NFA comes up with a number that supports a club financially monthly. If not, it would be no number, because knowing the logistics behind SKW, knowing where I'm coming from, and knowing what the NFA can spend, it's a mismatch, because that's why the SKW pulled out of the Premier League, because to sustain a soccer field the standard the SKW has will cost you something like 20-25k a month, water and lights. Mm-hmm. If you only get 100k,
the math is not matching.
It's not matching, because at the end of the day, there are too many clubs in Windhoek or Namibia that don't have own property, and that 20k they can spend on salaries. So whatever I develop as SKW, Marco van Wyk is a you know Marco.
Yeah.
He's a prime example, and I coached him. He was captain at SKW.
SKW, yes.
And he was already on the highest level we could pay at SKW, plus the bonuses. He came to as a coach, and he was captain with us.
Yeah.
Coach, I love this club. I will always love this club. But BA came and can offer me
this and this and this and this.
We can't. We
not even to match it.
No, it's so much more that we outplayed, and that's where at the end of the day you said, guys, this is what it is. I mean, we can go to here.
But does this year work for those clubs? You know, your Ramblers, your SKW. Does it work for them?
No. At that time, it was 10 years ago. It could work for them, but now, I mean, you need to give it a good player in the Premier League, and even if he's his captain, he needs to walk out with 7, 8, 9k. Otherwise,
plus a job.
Yeah, plus a job. Otherwise, it will not work.
Harald, thank you very much. We will continue with our discussion. We haven't discussed everything that we want. We'll continue with our discussion, but life has to go on for today. Yeah. And thank you very much for coming through.
Yes. You're so welcome.
All right. This was another edition of Game Time with Marco, as we spoke to Harald Fülle, a former Sports Commission CA, a former SKW goalkeeper, a former Namibia Premier League CEO, and now he's into paddle. If you don't know what paddle is, this is the right man to talk to. This is the right man who will show you what to do, show you how to do it, and it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world, if I may tell you that. that statistic that I recently found out that is the fastest growing sport in the world, worldwide, not only here in Namibia. And with Namibia, I can tell you that in Windhoek alone, I've seen about 4 or 5 clubs coming up with the sport, and it's always packed. So get yourself an opportunity to go and play paddle with Harald. If you need to get in contact with him, just make sure that you let us know. We will hook you up with him. Let's meet again next time on another edition of Game Time with Marco. Thank you very much.
Remember, in the Sports Act, there's a clause that the Sports Commission is obliged to pay admin fees to every sports federation in the country annually. And I think in that year I was there, it's for the first time that we paid the admin fees to all the federations. And I think thereafter it stopped again. I've been told federations are still waiting for admin fees. It's an organization that can work. We tried it. We had meetings here, but I think it's one of the big things in Namibia is our personalities are always in our way.
PST Bet is now available in Namibia, Botswana, and DRC, bringing you the thrill of sports betting to you. From the biggest football matches to high-speed action with Aviator, My Lucky Seats, and casino games, we bring you non-stop excitement at your fingertips. Enjoy cash back and cash out, giving you more control over your bets. Live betting on your favorite sports with real-time action and instant wins. Sign up today and start winning. PST Bet, you play, we pay.